So it was a kind of in here the acid formula, um, discovery and insights, commitment and actions. So today I see from Ben's conversation with the action part of it for the first time. And otherwise it's all about commitments and discovery and insight. So those are the two things for me. Thank you.
That metaphor, yeah, I did actually, I could feel it kind of evolve, that way, from the outs, from the outer layer to the inner layer. And it felt very much like, he knows his craft, and yeah, it was a good experience. Yeah.
Metaphors very interesting in a sense that it helps when you have a picture, a metaphor in terms of a volcano or electric cables. So it puts the client in a better state of mind when he can picture himself rather than just words. And when Ben was talking to him, it was just a flow from one metaphor to another. And so it was easier for the client to have an understanding. The emerging of this understanding helped him to heighten his awareness and deepen his learning, to be able to get to his objective. Thank you.
Today's conversation was, you could clearly see patience, and you could clearly see that this was not about a solution or where the coach thought would be the best route to go. It was really walking at the timing of the client. And it almost felt like, is going to sound so strange, but because maybe it's also Christmas time, but you know, when that Christmas movie about the ghost of Christmas past, and then the last ghost kind of brings the person through all the different aspects of their life and lets them kind of see what they had been missing. It kind of felt like that, because it was a lot of reflecting, but it was so slowly done in a way that the client was comfortable. And there was a lot of almost asking permission from the client. Is it okay if we do this? Would you like to explore this? Would this be okay? And so you could really see that it was all about the client. It had nothing to do with the coach, and the coach was really there in service for the client. So for
normal is stuck and they cannot move and have to stop. And before the end of the conversation, that the whale already move as normal. That I think I have the picture and I can follow the conversation. I like this a metaphor. Yeah.
I love the 101 metaphors that were used. And there's so many metaphors, and the volcano, that metaphor was good, and I think it really clicked with the client. But my personal liking was for the about the lights, to turn the lights on, and followed by the question, how will you like to be different? I thought that was a powerful question, because that, I think, got the client to say, I want to be proactive. So, yeah.
And I quietly agree with what Joanne also mentioned about some of the, or I don't want to repeat the points again. I think so others can also speak up. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Taraka. Marie, you wanted to say something, right, Marie?
Yeah, I also raised the same question as Carly, that how makes Ben ask that question, where does the power source come from? And actually, I was thinking the response to that question from the client was not really resonating me. And then after that, the coach asked again, how did you arrive this reaction? And that question was also really powerful. And another thing related to the metaphor, yeah, as we can hear, the coach tried a lot of metaphors. And I see at the end that is, I think, volcano, and then that changed the tension of the client and conversation itself, and then the, how can I say, the tone of the conversation went to very positive way. So that was really useful for that conversation.
So every time when I hear Ben doing live coaching, I'm amazing. I feel amazed how he can do the bulleting just after listening a story, and then he can chop it down into pieces so clearly. And yeah, amazing. And also for the use of metaphor, I think it's very effective. And I'm dreaming of
and try out stuff.
Okay.
Where the client is also feeling comfortable to be there. Anybody would like to finish up?
Body language of the of the client. He used the way of yeah, this is maybe is his normal way of thinking. So he's quite a strong, maybe a thinker. But the feeling part, if it has been tangled and resolved, and then everything will becomes out clear, especially when he get a better understanding about this feeling. Yeah. So
thank you.
that's my understanding. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So maybe we have more Q&A later on. Yeah. In the main session.
Yeah. Because generally we tend to work on strengths, and if thinking is a strength, as a coach, I would like to build upon that. So that was my thought process. Because you pick up the strength and then build on that for the client is what my thinking was.
Yeah, I would say the coach is very bold by letting the client.
Okay, welcome back for this Q&A session. These are hardworking students, and we want to reward you by making sure that you get all the best learning or whatever that is useful for you to be able to be of service to the client. So for this last session here, Lisa will be here facilitating the question, but let me just set some boundary around the Q&A. Number one, we like to invite you to ask clarifying questions, not applicational question. And that is, for example, how can I do this? That is not clarifying question. Or this is my situation, how can we address that? That's not going to be very useful because every coaching conversation is different. And the way we train is to teach our coaches to understand the principles, to gain an understanding of the nature of the case or the nature of the process, so that we use the tool, we use the science, not the science. I mean, the science don't serve us, okay? I mean, we don't serve the science, sorry. Okay, they're supposed to serve us. So we want to do that by understanding and learning it first. Okay, so I'm going to pass the time over to Lisa to facilitate this Q&A.
Great, thanks, Ben. A lot of great comments and observations in the breakout. So what else is still remained unanswered at this point that you would either like to share as an observation and how it's connecting to the principles, or something that you're noticing, and what questions you had to help deepen your learning and understanding?
Silence means no question. Oh, they're so frightened.
Too many.
They're so frightened.
I have an observation. I'm Raj from Mauritius. This is the first time I've attended many live demos, and I've always appreciated Ben's coaching. This is the first time I've seen numerous use of metaphors and how easily you move from one to another, kept the conversation going, and the flow was really amazing, awesome, I must say. And the client had, I must say, no choice but to get into the flow and open up himself to have that heightening of the awareness and deepening his knowledge. Well done. I really appreciated that. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Raj, and welcome for sharing that. Absolutely.
Hi, Ransi here. Just a quick question on that note. Ben, is there anything during the conversation that triggered for you to use the approach of metaphors more with this client, that you thought it would be more effective?
Thank you for raising that question. Well, there are many cues actually in the conversation and in the clients that suggest that you better use a lot of metaphor. If not, it's not going to work. Now, do you notice the clients? Do you notice that? So what does that suggest? What kind of thinking style is that?
Visual, yes.
Visual and thinker and concrete. Okay, visual, concrete thinker. That will stimulate the client a lot. Thank goodness the client is not thinking this way. It's very hard to crack that. Analyzing, and order and precision, accuracy. That's very, very difficult. Fortunately, the client is visual and concrete. So knowing that is how the client's mind is currently operating, we can create a process that matches it to accelerate the impact. Now, because the client is also concrete in thinking, slowly you had to introduce something that is smooth. However, the client is pretty quite guarded. So you can't come in too fast for these clients. Okay, you have to slowly, work with the clients until the clients feel safe. The mind of the clients feels safe. So that's why the first metaphor had to be something that the clients that matches a little bit more towards concrete but visual. So for stuckness, there's a lot of metaphor. So you have to choose something that is concrete enough for the clients to resonate. Fishbone in the throat, nah, it's not going to work. It's causing a lot of pain for the client. So, and then too ambiguous, not concrete enough. So since, the clients need something concrete, so I guess the wheels, is going to be a very useful, metaphor to allow the client's mind to slowly, get that understanding. So I guess that's a big trigger point because once the learning style is kind of like match, you tend to get a much more smoother thinking process that's less resistant. Okay, so with the metaphor and a right metaphor that matches it, it allows the client to get that sense of where the underlying issue is. If those who are in the core training, I believe all of us are CMA students, so that allows me to identify where's the underlying issue, but it's not really the underlying issue, but it suggests to us where the underlying issue, where the directions is to explore further. Okay, so I use with the help of the metaphor, it kind of like allows us to arrive at that underlying issue without the client trying to analyze the underlying issue. So that's some of this interesting cue. And by the way, I just happen to know the clients is in Bali. So that's why the volcano and whatever that is something that will certainly resonate. If the client is in Europe, they are most probably thinking about the ice and the lake that was frozen. And you're trying to ski through that. Whatever. Good thing the client is not in Africa, so I'm not sure what else can I think about. Okay. Oh, the Tarzan with this rope hanging on, swinging from tree to tree, grabbing it. So you kind of like find something, that resonate with the client. So there's kind of a fun element, in the connection of that, you see. So that's where the volcano and earthquake comes, if you just want to ask me where I get the inspiration. Okay, we have another question. Namrata, is that?
Yes, Ben. So this is just out of curiosity I'm asking you, because I've seen a number of other coaching conversations that you've had, and a lot of them, I think when they talk about physical manifestation, so he was talking about feeling heavy, he was talking about a knot in his belly, in the solar plexus. So I've noticed that you always refer to that because when the client feels a sense of lightness, you acknowledge that, or you ask them now, are you feeling light? Or this time you didn't. And I was wondering if I missed something, was it intentional? Just a question around like your typical style.
I'm not sure about how to answer that. Maybe I open up first for our faculty staff. Any thought about that? But I think in this conversation, I did at one moment at the later part of the conversation to kind of like express to the clients that I know we do see some spite and great relief, in the space, and invited clients to connect to that. But the later part, the early part of your question, I have no clue what or do you want to reframe your question again as to what are you curious about?
I don't want to really reframe it. Possibly to help you understand, I'll try again. Typically, because I've seen a number of your coaching sessions, and whenever there is a physical manifestation, you always refer to it. In conversations, are you feeling any lighter? I can see that you're feeling lighter. And because he specifically the client spoke about this whole feeling of feeling heavy and how it manifests in him, the whole thinking, how he gets impacted by his feelings and they weigh him down. So I was just wondering that when you closed it, did I miss it, or did you mention, because I didn't mention the whole feeling of do you feel light, and because I'm used to listening to your conversations and I know it always comes up.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. So number one, the client did mention about heavy and knock. That's not the shift that we're looking for. This is just a content in the client story. So we must be able to differentiate that from noticing a shift happening to the client. And I think that's one of the competency, required by the coach to able to notice what is happening to the clients in terms of shift. Okay, so there are few moments of opening up, but it's not as dramatic as it can be until there was a part at the ending after the clients connected the earthquake and the volcanoes and relating that to the reactions. That one was dramatic, but that's not presented by the client's own content, but it's presented in the energy field in terms of the content of the client. So that's the one that I noticed as a dramatic shift for the client. And that's the one that I brought the client's attention to and says, hey, there's a huge spike that happens in that moment, and it felt like everything was just breakthrough. So that's the same as, oh, there's a lightness, but this time it's not really a lightness, but there's a spike in energy that kind of like break the ceiling and opens up the roof, and then the light kind of like fall in. Okay, so that's what I pick it up. There was that real spike in the entire energy field, that opens up for the client. So that's what I noticed, and invite the clients to, at least to be able to pay attention to. Is that helpful for you, Narata?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ben.
Thank you. Raji, we see that you eagerly have a question.
Ben, you used the metaphor. The first metaphor which you used was of a wheel, which is getting stuck. I'm curious, was it because stuck is the expression which he used multiple times? Actually, there were multiple expressions which he gave of fear and heaviness, but stuck is something I heard him saying 2-3 times. Is that the reason why you chose wheel as a metaphor to begin with, and showing the wheel not rotating and getting stuck?
There's a lot of ways to interpret stuck. Stuck as stuck, or stuck as not moving. So how should I explain that? I'm not sure how best to explain. I'm not stuck as in I'm stuck as in I'm not like a stick that is poked into the ground and I can't pull it out. That is kind of like being sucked downwards, right? So that's the kind of stuck the client was mentioning in his story. Okay. Whether am I looking at the same thing? No, I'm not really looking at that stuck that the client is stuck in the story, but I'm more looking at, there's something that is not moving. Okay, something that is causes the wheel not moving. So the focus is more on not moving and not so much on the stuck.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm just talking to myself.
No.
Very hard for me sometimes to explain what I'm saying. So I'm saying,
because he was not able to take even decisions. That was also indicative of lack of movement. That what next needs to be done.
Yeah. Whether is that what cue me to think about the metaphor? Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe. Thank you, Raji. You're already making it very
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you, Raji. And Ami, we see that your hands are up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this live session. I have a question regarding this question you asked about this feeling being a very active power, and you asked what the source is for that's powering this active force. Because I'm still learning, I'm a bit confused with this loss frame and gain frame, because this feeling of fear or heavy feeling, that can sound like a lost frame. And then by asking what's powering this fear or this kind of a negative feeling, if you may, was there maybe, how did you know that the answer would come out positive? Because it could have gone into a very negative mode, but is it the way you frame the question, or is it the way you use the metaphor, like a charging energy that sounds a bit more positive than something else? Or did you know that it will work? Or if you can shed some light on it, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, number one, I have no idea whether it will work or not work. Okay, because we can't control the fish. The client every client has their mind, and we really cannot predict what will show up in the moment. Okay, so that's the beauty of the conversation, is that we really do not know what will show up. Okay, having said that, it doesn't undermine we as an expert in the process, because we can depend on science, and we can always depend on science. Okay, yes, sometimes science do produce exceptional, and we still can depend on science to work on the exceptional things that should not have happened but have happened. And there's a way we can manage it. You know what I mean? So having said that, we're depending on science. Number three, feeling is not a negative element. It's how you perceive it that is negative. But the feeling itself is an active ingredient that create our perception, just like thinking, just like actions. They are just neutral elements. It's the way we attribute our perceptions or the way we allow them to have an impact on us that makes it a gain frame or a loss frame. Itself is never a loss frame because there is always a healthy expression of a feeling, and it is only not useful if we pretend that it is not there because it's loss frame. Like feeling frustrated is just our response towards the circumstances. It is a loss frame when we are unconscious of the impact it has on me. I cannot deny anyone of suffering because the flip side of suffering is joy. Without joy, there is no suffering. Without understanding what is valuable to me, I will never feel the pain. See what I mean? So there's always that flip side to the element. And the key here is to be able to step out and look at it. Oh, I got this feeling thing here under the table. Great. It comes from me. I give birth to that. It is a part of me. So, but which part of me is that? Which part of me that give birth to this, elements that is, it's nothing wrong to be frustrated when things doesn't work out, because that's the way to keep us healthy. That these are things that is not in tandem with us. I cannot imagine a life without all these feelings. I mean, it's just like you can't feel pain. Wow, that's very dangerous when you're cooking. You just put your hand anywhere and then you will become like, whoa, ladies' fingers. Yeah, I mean, medium done. You know what I mean? So it's just how much attribution we have added to that, and how much and how conscious and aware I had my awareness around my attribution towards my response towards all these so-called elements called feeling. Right? So if that's what it is, then we can open up any can and learn something about it, because it is my shadow. And the good news is I don't need to scare about my shadow because it is a part of me. I'm just learning to allow the shadow to coexist with the object, which is me. So in this conversation, what I've done is to split the client from the shadows, so that the clients will not be haunted by their own shadows, but able to kind of take a peek and say, oh, okay, now that's where the shadows, okay. And where's the light that is producing it? Okay, now I got the light, that's fine. Once the clients get the basic orientation, where the light is and where the shadow is, naturally everything becomes calibrated. Okay. Cool. Is that helpful for you to put things into perspective?
Absolutely.
Now remember, core training, we're introducing the basic concept first of gain frame and loss frame. But as you move in your learning, now there's much more layers that we can add it into this whole entire study of resistance.
Thank you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
it's a
Looking
more
forward to it.
healthy
Thank you very
approach
much.
to deal with resistance.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy, for the
Thank you very much.
curiosity. Thank you. Great. We have, Namara has that. Anyone else has any other interesting questions that you'd like to have a peek? I mean, have a peek, but more have a understand. Oh, we have Eileen. Hi, Eileen. Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Ellen here from Malaysia.
Ah, Ellen. Okay.
I'm
No. Okay. So you have not been a student of CMA.
No.
That's all I can figure out.
Yeah, I'm just a guest here today.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a great place to be at this hour. I just have, out of curiosity, one question for the client as well as for you. I don't know if Dennis felt like the pacing was too fast or too slow for him. And then for you, Dr. Ben, how did you know to maintain that specific pacing? Is it because the client mentioned that he wanted it to be a more reflective space, or it's just kind of what you notice out of his answers?
So it sounds like you felt that the pace is a bit too fast for the client.
I think just from general coaching, people tend to be a bit more results focused, like you want to speed towards the destination. So yeah, I thought that it was quite interesting to see that you maintained that pacing throughout the whole conversation.
Okay. So your question is more around
how did you determine that the pacing was right for the client? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you personally feel about the pacing as an observer looking at this conversation?
It's something that would be helpful for people that may not have the capacity to reflect. So it might be suitable for the client at that point in time. But not sure what you thought and what went on in your head, basically.
What do you think about my pacing with you in this exchange?
Very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conversation, so it felt okay.
So the pacing will have to be adjusted according to the mood of how the coach feels the conversation. I think that's really the basis of this powerful transformational coaching, is that it honors the clients as where they're coming from. And like my mentor has always taught me that we are like the octopus. I said, why not chameleons? But yeah, I said, yeah, the chameleon is good, but it's only got one tongue that stick it out and you can only take one insect at a time. But she told me she prefer octopus because she got 8 tentacles to catch a lot of things at the same time, and yet be able to blend with the environment so that it can move on to catch the prey. The ability to kind of like blend in with the clients is really the key here to allow someone to open up their. So the pacing is one aspect, the language is one aspect, the learning style is one aspect, many aspects that we need to constantly tune in our craft.
Did you, Ellen, did you ask if I felt like the pace? Yeah. No, actually, no, it felt very comfortable. It didn't feel rushed. I felt like the pace was good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine, for having you. Wow, one final question. Yay. Before we end the day, anyone would like to have any clarifying questions that you like to have a glimpse on how the things put together? If not, I'm going to count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's give everybody a roll. Okay. Now remember, the aim of the life coaching demonstration is to allow you to understand that there is an empirical approach to create a change. It's not just how you feel and how you like it and gonna throw anything under the sky and hope it works. And that's really a pursuit of diligent studies, because change is something that we can study. That's the good news, right? It's not just based on, of course, experience and practice does make a difference, but we all sit on the same foundation. And that is the study of the change process itself and put in our heart, our effort to learn to master the skills. And step by step, certainly our understanding will grow, our practice will sharpen. So stay tuned with us, and we have more to come. There's another session this on Friday at 3 p.m. and you're always welcome to pop in. It's another different case study.